Hi everyone, sorry for the delay.
Should we start?
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to Beyond the Call, everybody. My name is Natalie. Next to me on the screen is Mary, but on your screen she may be somewhere else. This is Karma, and this is Joshua.
Hi.
Today we have Karma as a guest host, and this is the 5th week where Master Joshua, also known as Joshua for this hour, where his master title will still be here, but we won't be referring to him as that.
How do we speak?
We speak in fear. And we remember that at 8:31 we return back, and no, I'm just kidding. The point of the reason for this lack of title is because this is an evolved conversation, and where we are speaking as people, as humans, about our power exchanges, and there are no differentials. That's not the right word. Differentials. We have chosen this, so there's no.
Just for the record, Mary, can you take care of all the admittance tonight?
Yeah.
Awesome,
Yep.
thank you.
Anyway, so tonight, or Paul's gonna do it.
Hi Paul, even better, thank you.
So tonight, the conversation is between a master and his 3 slaves, and we're going to be talking about our beginnings into BDSM, into the kink community, how we got here, what our dynamics started off looking like, what they currently look like, how long we've been in them. It's going to be a bit of a return back to our beginnings and a reflection on how we got to where we are today.
I'm already feeling like a masochist.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this.
I'm sure we have we were going to learn a lot that we don't know about each other, maybe? I don't know, I hope so.
It's in a book.
Oh yes, which I've only read half of for my own personal reasons, which I'm going to not. Oh, sorry.
Which you're going to share, because now I'm going to ask him.
100%. Yeah. Well, in the beginning, let me just go through some housekeeping really quick, and then we'll start the conversation, and
Yes.
then I'll answer that question. If anybody wants to talk or share or answer one of the questions for themselves, we had some fun people come into our call a couple of months ago, and play porn and do all those things and whatnot. So we have taken away your privilege to speak without raising your hand. So if you would like to raise your hand, or if you would like to speak, you have to go to the react button at the bottom of the screen. Mine has a little heart, and you can just push the little raise your hand button, and we will ask you to unmute. I was supposed to say before I even said that we are recording the meetings, and we also are streaming them on
TikTok and Instagram.
And the Beyond the Collar
Recording
Instagram.
in progress.
So, yeah, that's happening. And what else? Did I miss anything, Mary?
All I'd say is our conversations are all perspective based. We all live the lifestyle, so please take this with the understanding that you can go and hear different perspectives. We encourage you to do so. Ours is just the way that we connect most to it. Also, for anyone that's concerned about the video sharing, just know that mine and Natalie's videos are the only ones pinned, so you guys are free to come on video. You guys will not be in the recording. And then I think that's all of the things.
Awesome. Don't mind our smoke special effects filter that may or may not be happening on Zoom, Instagram, or TikTok. No one is consuming
We are lighting incense.
and incense. There's no medicinal
Not
herbs happening.
illegal anymore.
No, but yeah, we get censored on social media.
And there was one more thing that I was going to say that I completely forgot. Oh, yes. So we're also uploading these onto YouTube. So if you would also like to share, you can 100% use the chat function as well. I think I forgot to mention that. And ask questions using the chat function if you don't want to have your voice on any platform. But if you also want to talk and you don't want it uploaded anywhere, you can just email us or direct message us on Instagram, and I can edit you out completely. That's it.
All the things.
All the things. That's the housekeeping.
So let's jump into our first question then. So our first question is, how long have you been out and about within the kink community? How long have you been in your current MS dynamic? And describe your current dynamic. So
Mary, go first.
I knew that was coming. Once everyone pointed, I was like, all right. So I've been in the community probably since I was 18. I've known about it, but I really haven't been out and like proud in it till about 4.5 years ago, going on 5 now. How long have I been in my MS dynamic? So we celebrated 4 years in March. I am in an MS dynamic that's long distance, but we're in a total power exchange relationship. And I would say that we had a very transformational relationship that went from client to MS. And that was kind of evolving of our time spent together and really what we learned about one another. So I think that that's all the fun to start us off with. Karma, how about for you?
I'll go last because it's a zinger.
Go, you're next, go.
Okay, so I've been in the lifestyle about 7 years. It's my current MS dynamic is the one that started this. How it started for me was with an article. I was researching an article about, I'm a journalist, and I was researching an article about kink and religion. And my master, Joshua, was one of my sources, the first source, actually. And it was my first encounter with the whole kink outside of fiction situation. So I was not looking for it, but that's how I found my way in. Yeah.
What does your current MS dynamic look like? Is that one of the questions too? Or what was, yeah.
Yeah, how long, and describe a bit about your dynamic.
Mm-hmm. So it's a master-slave dynamic. It's been 7 years. It went through different titles and different stages. And I think the core of it is the fact that it's a ethical non-monogamy that because I am also married and raising a family. And so I think the core of our MS relationship had been balancing the dynamic itself with this entire life that I continue living, not exactly separately, but apart from this. So balancing these two things is what I think that our MS specifically revolves around. And it's also, of course, an MS, as in a path, my chosen path to spiritual growth or spiritual fulfillment.
Thank you.
Okay, how long have I been, or how was, oh my gosh, I wrote these questions and now I'm, introduce yourself. I have been out and about within the kink community. I like to say that the kink community found me. I entered maybe 2 months after I turned 18 without seeking it whatsoever. Somebody sat down at my college lunch table and was like, yeah, I'm a part of this kink society in Rochester, New York. And I was like, that's cool. I'm pretty perverted in terms of what I watch in porn, and that was my understanding of myself up until then, was that I knew what BDSM was and I knew what kink was, but I had no idea that there was a community surrounding it. So I just came with her to an event, and that was when I was 18, so 7 years ago. And I burned myself out pretty quickly.
What do you mean by that?
I went head first into the community. I went to tons of events. I was playing with tons of people, and I put all of my eggs into the kink basket, and I used all of my energy there, and then I didn't want anything to do with it. So I took a really long break, and then I re-entered the kink community when I moved to New York about close to 2 years ago. And it was maybe my third or fourth event that I had gone to where I met Master Joshua here, aka Joshua, for the next.
It doesn't really work.
I'm like, I was trying to do like the quick math, but I can't. And within 6 months after meeting him, he had collared me. And so we've been in a MS dynamic for the past year and some change. And what does my current dynamic look like? Well, I recently moved in. So my relationship is a live-in slave position. And it currently looks like it's very logical. It's very task-oriented, and it's what is helpful to me.
Whew. So I sound like Mr. Red Flags all over the place.
Let me just adjust this camera back here.
So I've been doing this for a number of years. I've been doing it, my number's been a dozen years, between a decade to a dozen years for a minute. But all the math aside, I've been doing this for at least 10 years. I started hosting events around, I've been in the community longer than 10 years. I started hosting events about 10 years ago, doing professional domination around the same time. And I almost left the community earlier in my venture because a lot of it was transactional and it was very empty, right? It's like the level of connection that I was looking for, people weren't taking serious. So then I almost left. And then I was like, that's when I met my ex, and it was like, why don't we do parties? And it was like, all right, fucking let's do parties. And we did parties, and it was great because I was able to create the space that I didn't have to experience this level of vulnerability and openness. I got into the lifestyle because I wanted to learn more. I wanted to be the best at sex, right? It was like I wanted to have all this awareness and knowledge so that we can do things in the bedroom that people frown upon, right? It's like that's what motivated me, but that was from my teens when I started having sex. I learned about connection through the lifestyle, and I found purpose through the lifestyle. I found my connection to faith through the lifestyle, meaning the relationships that I have with each of you is built around truth and around holding space so that we can be ourselves and we can speak in ways that we've never experienced before with other people. With Mary, it was my profession at first, but then you have someone who leaned into what I was saying, sharing and guiding as the professional, right? And I was watching her knock all of these balls out of the park over and over and over and just getting bigger and stronger. And when she approached me about leadership, like, I trust you, I will follow you. It's like, what else am I supposed to say when this person trusts me enough to let me lead, and in this, they're winning? It's like, why wouldn't we? And so our personal relationship developed from there. And then with Karma, how we met, and my relationship with differentiating between ethics and morals, and how Karma taught me the significance of 100% transparency and truth, period. It was like, fuck what you think a dominant's supposed to do. Either you trust me or you don't. And it was like, wow. That lesson came before Mary's lesson. And that was a very groundbreaking experience for me. And that's when our relationship went from Dom Sub to Master Slave. Because she shared with me, I watch you, you lead me. If you give yourself elbow room, I will take the same elbow room. And I had to reflect on it and say to myself, I can't allow that, because it's not, I can't manage this stuff, right? I can't manage emotions. Things either are or they aren't. And that was a big lesson I learned. One of many lessons. And then with Natalie, It's to watch someone who is doing the work proactively, meaning she's a person of her word and she wants to be better. Better meaning, from where I was sitting, safe. Safe to exist and safe to pursue the life that you want. And someone who shows up and has been a person of their word and is doing everything proactively, I want to be the person that I couldn't have been at her age because there's a significant age difference. And it was like, imagine if you could have met someone like yourself, very much like yourself. I was thinking about this today. That you can give them the space to be exactly who they need to be. It's like that you can give them the space to be exactly who they need to be. It's like, why? Putting aside all the chemistry, everything we had in common and connection, to meet someone who's driven like that is one of the most empowering and impressive things to me. It's like, how can I not put my support behind you? I talk about wanting to submit to a purpose. And my submission goes to all of them in their dreams and their goals. It's like, you will be first as long as we're moving you forward towards where you want to get to. And I submit to that, and I submit to you all in that way, that my role is to support you in achieving your dreams. That's the state that we're at, I think.
Any questions, anybody? Oh my gosh.
So we're gonna move into our second.
They said, why does Natalie look bored and upset at the same time?
I'm nervous. I've never been this red in a phone call. I'm listening and I'm like, oh my god, I need a cold shower. Anyway.
And I am not making jokes. You will notice I am not making jokes.
I noticed the absence of the joke making.
I was like, they were waiting for the punch. I'm like, nope.
No, we have time.
There'll be time at 8:30.
So the next question.
So the next question is, what did the beginning of your BDSM sexual exploration empowerment journey look like? Would you do anything different? If so, what do you wish you knew?
I wish I had mentorship earlier on. I wish the community was safe enough, there were enough positive role models out there to lean and trust into people. I also wish I didn't associate my kink journey with the kink community, and understanding that it has to do with my own relationship with myself and self-acceptance, that I'm not going to find the answers externally. I'm only going to find them internally.
I'm reading the question again, and I like that I slashed BDSM, sexual exploration, and empowerment journey together because they're all completely different for me. The beginning of my BDSM journey began, I would like to say it began when I found it online and I realized that it was something that I was really into. And that was when I was maybe 7, 8, 9, I couldn't tell you the age, but somewhere in the single digits. And then soon after, that's when my sexual exploration journey began, again, through mostly online resources. Thank you, 2010 iPhone, iPad culture. And
no, it's crazy. Like as you say that, like
I was one of the first places in which I was a movie trailer, The Human Centipede. That was what really got me. I was like, there was so much shame associated with like having, I was like, what is going on down there and why am I attracted to this? But I didn't even know it was attraction, but I knew it was wrong because I was like, how can anybody like this? And there was a lot growing up in the Catholic Church, and there was a lot of shame I had put on myself without having had anybody know what was going on in my life. And oh my gosh, And my empowerment journey, I would like to say that my empowerment journey began when I came back into this scene 2 years ago, meeting Joshua here. And even before that, a couple of months before that, I had started going to therapy and working on myself and doing and performing and stepping in line to what I want myself to look like. Would I do anything different? No, because then I would be, because I believe that all of the choices that I've made have led me to this point, and the point of now is perfect. Even if whatever is happening isn't comfortable nor I like it, it's perfect. So, but what do I wish then? What do you wish to know? What do I wish that I knew? To just relax into scenarios and choices and experiences a little bit more than I did, even if it was taking an extra breath per minute.
What do I wish I knew?
For folks joining us on social media, my name is Joshua. These are my slaves, Natalie, Karma, and Mary is on Zoom. We're talking about our power exchange relationships and our relationship with BDSM and Kink and how we got here. The question, Mary, could you repeat the question?
Sure. So it's, what did the beginning of your BDSM sexual exploration empowerment journey look like? Would you do anything different? If so, what do you wish you knew?
So mine started, like I said, I was a journalist researching a story, married, with kids, not looking for trouble.
Sorry.
I was not looking for trouble. I did not even know trouble existed. I was looking for something to spice up an otherwise pretty mainstream, mundane career. I was looking for a juicy story, not a juicy life at the time. And what I wish I knew was that I was looking for a juicy life. Because if I was aware of the fact that I am looking for it, that that's my real motive, then it would not have, then I would have known which flow am I seeking to enter. I would have known I am jumping into a certain river and this is where I want to go. I think what I wish I knew is that this is where I want to go. Because for me, everything was sort of like, where are we going and why are we going there? I'm not supposed to be going there. I had no intention to go there. If I knew from the beginning that this is actually what I wanted, or this is what I'm looking for, then it would have been a lot less like pulling teeth, or like or I would feel a lot better about it because it's what I want. But knowing that it's what I want, that happened only after a very long process.
I feel that way about polyamory.
Love
you all.
Love you too.
It took a minute.
I do not wish polyamory on my worst enemy.
Thank you.
I would answer more to that, but Mary, go next.
Okay. I was going to say, that's a whole other conversation. Somebody said if I only had the mentorship program run by the Kink Collective 20 years ago, that would be really good. Shameless plug by our
Paul.
Someone.
But as I think about this question, it's funny because I talked about this briefly in therapy yesterday, and I said to myself that my I think that my entrance back into the lifestyle and catering to my curiosities was the kickoff to my empowerment. It was my comeback story of being at such a low point in my life and saying that this is not where my life ends, this is where it starts, and really believing that for myself and making my sexual desires almost tangible goals. Just because I grew up disabled, and so I grew up in a society where I wasn't always like the prettiest, or I was always like the weird one out, and so like I wish I would have known that this was such a safe place to enter into and to come into. Just, it's safe to just exist. And I say that in like the kink collective space. I wish that I knew that there were areas like that for people like myself to not feel fear and just come. Because I think that with that understanding, when I am able to attend events or cater to the people that are newer, those are the things I often lead with. As I know it's scary, or I know that like sometimes you feel like the odd one out, but like right here, you're the full person. And so just know that there's other people that feel that way. And I think that it's all like with this question, I want to be more mindful of how I approach new people, just because I know what it was like to stand outside and watch kind of people live the life that I wanted. And so I had to really go and embrace and get the life that I desired and do it with the people that I felt the closest to, and the relationships expand, and just to be able to watch how other people's journey evolves. Like, it's, you can't put it into words of what you wish you knew. But I would agree with Natalie, and kind of collectively what has been shared is, I don't think you should ever say you do anything different, because you have to stub your toe in the places you stub your toe in order to get to that empowerment journey and to be in the places that you are. So I think that you can only just desire more time, more attention.
Now that you say that, I wonder where I would be if I had stubbed my toe like 5 more times than I did.
Hospital?
Maybe.
No, it makes me think about the lessons that I've learned. Right, I wouldn't have learned those lessons if I didn't make the choices I made. Life.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Let's make more choices.
Awesome. So this one, I think Natalie is trying to get us to tell some secrets about ourselves and really lean in here. So
No.
This, I see this. So the next question is, when you entered the kink community, did you enter as a searcher or an explorer? If you were searching, what were you seeking? If you were exploring, what did you see or find? How have your needs, wants, desires changed? So Natalie, I feel like you should kick off this conversation, because this is layered.
Yeah, I developed this question because I entered this. Like I said, my entrance into the kink community was not chosen. It was brought up. Even though I knew I was a kinky person, I didn't know that there was a community. So I wasn't seeking anything. I was like had this sort of attitude of, sure, let's just see what happens. So I came in as an explorer. But once I started exploring for a couple of weeks, I started seeking people and I started seeking experiences. And once I found out what I could experience, I started pinpointing and trying to, a cat makes a really good example of this. When you start searching for people, instead of meeting people face to face for who they are, you go out and you're trying to find, she uses like a tennis partner example or something. She's like, I really need a tennis partner. So instead of meeting people for who they are face to face, you're meeting somebody to specifically fit a slot that you need. And once I had a taste of what the community was, that whole attitude of exploring all went away, and I started seeking a bunch of things: pleasure, people who I could find pleasure from, sexual pleasure, specifically at the time pain, because pain was something that was very helpful to me. I grew up self-harming, so I found that when I found that this was, people were hitting people and I could just ask somebody to hit me, I was like, wow, I could really wrap this around my head, and instead of me doing it, I could somehow ask someone else to do it, and it's not as bad, which is not the case. And but at the time, I was able to convince
She
myself
said, which is not the case for anyone who didn't hear her say that.
Yes, not the case. Like, literally, he hit me the other day, and I was like, ow! Actually, could you just kiss me instead? So that's a little bit of how I developed this and where I'm at. how have my needs, wants, and desires changed? Exactly. So after I spent time seeking and searching and trying to find people to fit slots in my life and trying to find people to do the things that I didn't want to do because I didn't want to face myself face to face in front of a mirror, my needs and wants, I didn't know what they were. So I turned back into an explorer, and I turned back into everything being more of a 360 point of view, and I allowed my experience within the community I just remained open, and I just allowed attraction and my manifestations that I didn't really consciously make to just show up at my front door in a way. So that's my answer.
Mary, would you like to go next?
Sure. So
You can Uno reverse.
Skip it. You can skip it to Carmen.
I need an Uno card. So I want to start off this question by saying, whether this is your first conversation or your 100th, I want to be very transparent. So, like, when we're talking about needs, wants, desires, kink is an evolutionary journey. Like, I feel like everyone, when they step into this, whether you're searching or exploring, you feel like you have to be something, right? Whether it's like a submissive to the room, a master of the room, or you have to have some form of attention on you in order to be a part of these communities. I think that all of those things are self-understandings, right? And I don't think anyone ever tells you, like, you can just come in and exist and just check out the scene, right? So if you are new, please, I encourage you so heavily to just don't search or explore, just come and exist, and see what you are looking for. I entered in, I'm going to talk more so about my dynamic. So when I came in, I was seeking a man that could do all the kinky things that my girlfriend could. I just wanted the male version. And I really seeked masculine touch and masculine energy. And I met Master Joshua soon after that. And I think what came from it too was I didn't know that I needed anything. I really just thought I wanted to feel and experience, and soon it turned into like, oh no, I need this. Like, I need to feel, I need to experience this. And through the many different modalities and things that we experience together, to play with fear, to play with things that wasn't tangibly happening, but to show me that I'm safe and secure in who I am and in my body. BDSM became very much a need. And like how Natalie said, like, getting hit in the face consensually, right? Like, those were things that I needed. I needed to be hit sometimes, and more so for my release, right? Shocking. What has he done to us? No.
Who is this guy?
Who is this guy? Smacking him around.
I researched him heavily. We don't have enough to indict him.
I would say though that I have seen community. I have seen people evolve from not knowing who they are to like filling up a room with the space that they command just by being there. I have sought a place that is home. There is a feeling of submission that just feels natural, and there's a place of dominance that just reigns on the back end. And I think though that I will never really truly ever know all the needs, the wants, the desires. I think that they, as long as I can acknowledge they are always changing, I will never go without making sure I'm taking care of those things. But Karma,
That was
lay it
such
on
a
them.
beautiful. That was such a beautiful answer, Mary. Thank you. It was I was so impressed. You layered it so beautifully. I was like, wow. Every step makes more and more sense.
She does that.
You know, what I imagine is like 300. You saw the movie 300, the Spartans, right? It's like I imagine every person, you have Jesus Christ!
I've seen Epic Movie, which is like
right.
the version of it, kind
So,
of.
not
The
really,
com-
but we'll talk about it.
Anyone knows
We'll
that?
talk about it. Wow,
That shit's
anyway,
hilarious.
for those who know 300.
You want it. You got what you want.
Listen, right? So it's like the people who inhabit our space, who participate, are all within their own leaders, right? They're each their own Spartan, right? And it's like, for anyone to come in new would not be dominant over anyone in this space, because everyone in this space owns their space. And it's like, well, now it's your turn to walk the line, or to show us who you are. So as you're sharing that, it makes me think about that. It makes me think about how, well, we've gone through these processes of learning and evolving. It's like, well, we've also learned our value in it. Can you pull the questions up again? Sorry, I didn't answer these questions, correct?
No, neither did Corma.
But
Oh wait, no.
while you were talking about it, that's what that made me think of, right? It's like, when you're with us, when you were part of us in community, in the Kink Collective, it's like you learn your value simply by existing.
And I think of our polycule. There's a photo when
yeah.
Natalie had first came over, like into our circle. We were sitting in a boathouse like thing, but there's one photo where all of us were just hugging. And if you look at the photo, it's a very powerful, like, master is in the middle, and like we're all interlocked in some way. It's like a very visual description of what you were just sharing, and like that's what I think of, is that interlocking of like protection but acknowledgement in that same breath.
Absolutely.
So, thank you. So, I came in as a journalist, an observer, and very quickly I became an explorer because the world fascinated me. So, I used my tools and my right of way as a journalist, because it was, being a journalist legitimized my curiosity and my interest, and it's my job to dig and explore. So very quickly it gave way to being an explorer. And as my relationship with Joshua deepened and grew and became the focus of my exploration, as did myself, I wasn't exploring the world or the scene or what is, so much as I was exploring sides of myself that I didn't know existed, and new emotions that I did not know could be evoked. I thought I knew the world. I did it all. I got the job, I got the husband, I got the kids. I thought from here on it's just doing the same thing. And so more than an explorer, yes, but an explorer in like a deep ocean with weird creatures around and like no oxygen tank. So that was the process of it. And how did my needs and wants change throughout? Did I skip anything of the question?
No.
Okay, so how did my needs and wants change throughout the way? Well, it started being that it started as a sort of like trip and fall into a rabbit hole. It started off very existentially threatening, right? Because I had my marriage on the line. I had my family on the line. I had, like, everything I ever worked for was at risk because of this relationship. If I effectively was walking a very slippery path about, kind of like not being in the truth with my husband, not being able to share the truth with him, not breaking not breaking the rules of marriage outright to begin with, but walking a very slippery slope and hanging in there for dear life and feeling terrible about it all the time, to the point that it became like a disease. It became really life-threatening to me because the reality of it was unsustainable. I had to either give up something that was calling to me, that was saying like, you have to do this because this is exploring, this is what life is about. really deep. I mean, really kind of like, this is my source of electricity. I plug into it every morning when I wake up, and having to choose between that, or feeling like I had to choose between that and everything I already had. So it started out with my needs and wants being to resolve that issue. And once that issue was resolved by shifting into a ethical non-monogamy, by telling my husband the truth, by telling Joshua the truth, by telling my husband the truth, by telling everybody around me the truth, everybody around me who could hear, I'm still wearing this, that once that issue was resolved, my needs and wants became ever more subtle, right? It was more about needs is just continue our paths together. That's my one need, to remain in each other's lives, because my life is everybody has a separate life, right? But it's easy to imagine how this could just drift away, or just detach and go its own way, and I will go mine. It's easy. It could easily happen with circumstances like that. So my one need that I feel is to keep us together. And my wants, they change as we go along, but my wants is sort of like to answer my wants. My wants are sort of to have the freedom and space to explore what is this that I want and go after it, which I get.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So when you entered the kink community, did you enter as a searcher or as an explorer? I think exploring. I started having sex at 12. By the time I got into the community here in New York City, I was not 12. I want to say in my early 30s, maybe late 20s. But then again, even before BDSM was swinging, and that was easier to find. And I would, at this point in my life, I would put them as the same, because I was seeking expansion, experiences. I was seeking more. And then when I found the kink community, thank you, Paddles, Michael, I love you. That's when it shifted to exploring for more empowerment, for more skills and tools to put into my best sex person in the world toolbox. And this is many years ago. What I found was the significance of being, and you're gonna hear this shit all the time from me, holding space and being truthful with someone so that they can be themselves. Now, for me in particular, I'm Latino, I grew up here in New York City, I'm very light-skinned, I grew up in a black neighborhood here in East Harlem. My relationship with society is very particular to my experiences. In the kink community, when I joined, it was separated by whites and non-white communities. Then you have gay, straight, and queer communities. Any of those spaces that I would go into, the people I would connect with are people in which I grew up around and grew up with. And I started establishing very deep connections with people who were seen as, they were fetishized and they were seen as trophies. So they had their walls up. But I, without the intention of connecting like that, just holding space and seeing, I found when I saw the importance of connection, it changed everything. It was like, wow, this is the most powerful thing out there, is being able to hold space for somebody with no agenda. Because I don't want you to feel the same way I felt in the past. That's what I found, is the ability to create that experience for someone, or the absence of that experience for someone. With me, you don't have to fear me, because I don't want anything from you. And that's what really put my relationship with this lifestyle into full throttle. Because when I grew up I wanted to help people. You know, when you're in high school, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to help people. And for me to be able to help someone to feel safe in a space where you're surrounded by everything that's threatening because there's an agenda, it was very fulfilling to me. It was like, it gave me a sense of being, right? That I know that's who I could be. My needs, wants, and desires. I've held space for so many people for so long. My needs and desires change because the spotlight has changed onto me. I want to access my desires. I want to experience my needs, and I want them to be heard and seen because I've spent so many years doing it for others, right? It's changed because I want to put myself first, right? I want to ask for things because I've put countless people into subspace, and I've probably experienced it 2 or 3 times in my life, right? And it's like, I want to know what it means to be that safe too.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Thanks everybody for answering that
For sure.
very long-winded question. There is one question that somebody has.
Yeah.
A couple of people
but
have asked.
I just want to pull out one quick thing. Somebody said there's something on TikTok, so if you guys could take a look there, just to help that out real quick.
Okay. Can you go and?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions in the chat which I would like to address since I've been saying ask questions if you have them.
Right. Yeah.
How do you deal with drama in your groups and gatekeepers that don't have good intentions? How do you?
I think it is fair to say, no matter the group of people, there will always be some sort of overthinking that relates to like what is equivalent of what drama is. But I think that the more people are vetted and you're cautious about who you're bringing into your space and your group, I think that there's like a mindfulness there.
Let me answer this one real quick because
Sure.
drama in the space. All right, so we have a very particular energy here, equality. We don't have any titles. There's no doms or subs. There's no masters. The only one I'm masters of are 3 people, and you have them right here. I will speak to everyone as a human being, and I expect everyone to behave the same. If you can't match that level of behavior, you gotta go, and that includes favoritism. That includes cliques. Like every person that comes in that door puts on a name tag, and you have to be social. If you're not social, you're gonna feel uncomfortable because you're removing yourself from the energy of the space. We create the space that we want to inhabit, because what I've noticed in my own journey is going out there, I put myself at other people's levels of acceptability. If they allow people to come into play spaces and act like brats to everybody because that's who they are, I don't want anything to do with that. And that pushes against my own limits of dealing with other people projecting their energies onto me, right? I want people to feel like they all have equal space in our events. Now, when it comes to gatekeeping is important. It's important in the sense of, in order to access this space, I expect you to behave at a certain level. If you can't behave at that level, you don't get access to this space, because I have to maintain the integrity of comfort and of mindfulness and of the freedom of expression for everybody beyond the individual who's causing the conflict in the space. That's just how I function with gatekeeping. Now, the other word for gatekeeping, which I think people mix up with gatekeeping, is prejudice. And that's not the same thing. You're not good looking enough, you're not thin enough, you're not tall enough, you're not this enough. That's not gatekeeping, that's prejudice. And they can be intertwined, but gatekeeping, you have to look at it as a threshold of access. And it's not a bad word. It's a very necessary word, because gatekeeping is what maintains your boundaries. You gatekeep for access to yourself. So it's not necessarily a bad word.
And there's a thank you. I agree with Joshua.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So another question, what is the dynamic between the three slaves? Do you have like a sister relationship? So I don't know what a sister relationship is, but Mary and I for some reason, I forgot what it was. It just happened very naturally. We developed this sort of lady title with one another, and it's just a sort of like, she's a lady, I'm a lady, and we're ladies together. Like, it's very, how do you say, Mary? Read my mind.
Ladylike.
No, it's very casual, but our relationship between each other, it's different. But with me and Mary, it's very close and it's very almost teenage-like when we're together. My little, and we're going to be talking about Little Space at the end of the month, is, and what it is and what it looks like for all of us, is very teenage-like. And I came to this conclusion a couple of weeks ago that my theory is, if I give my little, or what I wasn't given when I was younger, to myself now, I can honor my past as a child, and I can not be done with it, but just honor it and just set it aside and move forward. And Mary gives me the access to be able to do that. So our relationship is very much like that. And unfortunately, again, she said in the beginning, she's long distance. So when we see each other, and we give each other energy. And then I say, I don't know when I'm going to see you again, but I hope it's soon. And Karma and I have a... I knew that would happen. You did it good. You're good, girl. I have a new relationship with... it was very complicated. So Karma was the person who I went to vet Joshua first. He told me, he said, have you vetted me? And I go, of course not. Why would I vet you? I trust you to tell me everything about yourself. Like, why? I didn't understand.
Well, that's what happened. Okay, that was on purpose. Okay.
No, but I also had never met. The first time that I vetted him was at one of his events. He had told me to vet him, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask Karma. I had never met her. I had also never met Mary. I had never met Joshua's other partner at the time. I'd only met one of them, or two of them. Anyway, so Karma and I communicated, and immediately after a couple of sessions of communicating with one another and meeting with one another, we developed this sort of very intense, like, attraction, yet also we were butting heads, and we couldn't understand one another because we were both intimidated by one another. Is this correct?
Yes.
Yes. So we had to just separate. He's like, I'm gonna leave you. And then
I wasn't really intimidated by you. I was kind of like, I was more like aggravated.
So aggravation, intimidation, confusion. Me entering polyamory was a lot of sitting with myself and my emotions, and not knowing that I was sitting with emotions that weren't necessarily mine, but they were programmed into me from my own choices, from other people's choices. And we eventually, thankfully and happily, decidedly came together a couple of months ago, and I don't remember what, I think it was actually, we decided to do the mummification scene together, which then developed into a movement.
It was for a show. It was for we have this we have this almost like a talent show called Kinky Story Nights, in which people perform, and I wanted to do a performance with her that involved both dance or movement and mummification. Sorry.
No, it's okay. And she had been constant for a couple of times before this, trying to throw an olive branch out to me, and I wasn't ready to accept it yet. And even that night, I wasn't really ready to accept it. But I went into the whole experience being like, well, why the fuck not? Let's do it. And it was. Yeah, we're in.
They've worked past it.
Yes. So our relationship now is friendship and working on what's next.
I want to thank whoever asked that question, and I want to take this opportunity because I was thinking a lot recently on what the relationship is between the three of us and all the other people that we are in a polyamory with. And we all connected to Joshua, right? We all connected to a specific person and chose him for specific qualities that we saw in him. And we all have this desire to continue our life together in whatever way that expresses itself. And we didn't choose each other. We're kind of like the in-laws. We're kind of like the people-in-law that you kind of come with the person that you marry.
Family never chooses each other.
in the way that it was kind of a given. But I've been thinking about that a lot, and polyamory or non-monogamy have that is the baseline, that is the default. You don't always choose the people that you're with. It's not like you selected them, and if you focus on that angle, they're competition. And that is not what we are or have become. And I believe that we each developed, as much as we have the time, we each developed a love for each other, an actual love that comes from just sharing yourself openly and just living these principles that we follow, right? Mm-hmm. Integrity, honor, respect, the rest of it, what was it? Integrity, honor,
don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick, be a nice guy, fucking wash the dishes if they're in the sink, shit like that.
More like
the emotional dishes.
More like
it could be a perspective based.
Tell the truth, live the truth.
Yeah.
Loyalty, right? We're loyal to each other, even when our loyalty to each other, at least for me, surpasses the sacrifices or the conflicts or the anything, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So, to me, my other slaves are my family, and while I chose you and there came along, there's a way for me to choose them as well. To choose you and to choose you and to choose you. And that is where I am going with. That's not exactly where I'm at. That's not exactly who they are to me, but that's just what I realize we can be. Mm.
That makes sense.
And I know we're at time, but I definitely want to echo, I think this is a great question to ask. And it's funny because we've spent so much time together, and it's often we've never asked this question of one another. So this is definitely eye-opening for each of us. And I can equivocally say too is Natalie and Karma were not only valuable life lessons for me in just existence, but they became my accountability, my safety, just like Master Joshua was and is, right? It was this easy, well, not so easy, but this relationship that we could hit the wall, but no one else was gonna hit the wall because that's my person. We're just getting through this. We're gonna get there, and truly believing that there is an end state for all of us, and that, like Karma was saying, I really value that. Once you remove the competition value, we're all here. We all play very different roles. We all have very different relationships, and being able to not only witness that alongside one another, but embrace that there are different relationships, and we're all the same title, and it just looks very differently. Has been not only beautiful, but it's life changing because, like Carmen was saying, it's those are my people. We're gonna protect what's ours, and that is ours. And we've worked so hard for it. So I value the difficult times as well, because the difficulty showed us that we have this ability to get over that. So then whatever's about to hit us next is not gonna knock us down, because we've been through way worse. We're ready for whatever comes. So. Yeah, I'm glad that, Karma, you were not only here with us, but that we got to do this and get to share so much. So we appreciate you as always.
Yes, thank you. And I'm happy to stay on longer if
There's
people
other
would like to,
questions,
because
yeah.
there's lots of questions, and if you're welcome. We have this talk scheduled from 7:30 to 8:30, but
This gives people opportunities to get insight on stuff like this. So also there's social media stuff too. Let me take a peek over here.
you were welcome. I'm free to stay on. So, Mary, I don't know
Yeah,
if
and
you want to
somebody
say.
is promoting Karma's book. So Karma did write a book, so if you're ever curious. Surviving Master Joshua, BDSM Unaware of an Unfaithful Wife. She is an award-winning author, so if you guys haven't checked it out, Paul has dropped the link in Zoom. But
Thank you,
please
Paul.
get the book. It is a phenomenal book. And everyone's said, I love Karma's voice so much. That book is so good. You can also get it on Audible.
That is not my voice on Audible, by the way.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I think that it's important based off of one of the next comments. I think I would like us to answer question number 5 if possible, which is, do you see any difference within the kink community as it is today compared to how it was when you entered? Let's fantasize. If all the community could listen, process, and act on one of your goals or wishes, what would you say / ask of them?
Truth trumps everything. The spaces that the community is, the idea of the spaces created is safety. And safety comes through truth, not through popularity contests, not through convenience, but through working through the difficulties of making sure everyone's story is heard and validated. Because more often than not, communication is what breaks down, because we were never taught how to do this. We hold each other up to the most excellent, most fantastic, perfect status that we can without giving people grace and understanding each other as a human being. That there's a lot at risk for everyone who comes in, regardless of what that may look like from the outside. Vulnerability is risk. People die doing this stuff. Truth and compassion, especially when it's not comfortable.
I am not the best person to ask how the community has changed since I've entered it, because my entrance into the community was fast and sudden in a small city, and then I took a long break from going to events and talking to new people and researching and going to in-person education classes. I don't have enough knowledge to be able to say if it has changed, but I want to say that it hasn't. And I don't mean to be pessimistic regarding the community itself, but I think if I could ask the community anything and they could really listen and process, I would say learn vetting and discernment. And how to do it, the mentorship program.
No, listen, for real, man, for real. No, if I can jump on real quick. Back a decade ago, it was very different. And I want to say it was just a different beast. You had queer, straight, and gay communities. You had POC communities and white communities. And that's how it was. Urban areas develop and evolve faster than suburban areas, which do the same towards out in the sticks. Rural areas. Sorry, I forgot my language for a minute. The drive for inclusion has fucking steamrolled a lot of things to the point of creating exclusionary spaces because of the need to be inclusive, right? It's like it's become it's differently segregated now. Different rules govern the land. That's why we created our own space, because social markers aren't going to govern our spaces. Characters are going to cover our spaces.
So, like I said, I'm a journalist, and since my whole life transitioned into kink, so did my work. And I've been researching the kink scene, different aspects of it, just kind of mapping it out for the past few years. And for the changes in it, what happened with the gender revolution, what happened with shifting from a binary way of thinking to a more fluid way of thinking, created an opportunity for a new level of self-definition, a new level of where you're not like 1, 2, or 3, or 1, 2, or 3, or 4, but you're sort of like a mix of flavors. And I think I see that when I explore kink events and kink places, I see that rising, that sort of I'm gonna weave Disney princesses into my kink identity, and I'm also gonna weave my love for bunnies, and I'm also gonna weave the fact that I love butterflies and toenails and excrement. So everybody does their own mix. I wasn't talking about myself, but I'm talking about...
Just
I want to meet that person.
Very broad brush.
So I see people starting to pick up kink as a way to people who feel kind of constrained by, because kink is the most, despite all despite all the things going on in the community, despite all the little boxes that people still exist in, kink is still the most open and vibrant and lively space for self-definition, bordering on chaos because of that, bordering on entropy, always at risk of falling apart, dissolving, and bursting into flames, right? Just kind of on the edge of crazy. But I think that give it a few years, give it a few smart people, give it a few leaders and discipline and pacing, and it will be a pathway into a unknown form of sexual expression.
Karma's been talking that way for about 2 years now because she has been diving into this as a journalist community, covering Folsom Street and other leather events within the city and across the country. So it's like hearing you put it that way. She's been talking that way for about 2 years, and it's happened.
How can people find you, your journalism, and what you've been writing? Because I know that you just released something about the covering ceremony, which I just read today. It was incredible.
Right now, most of my works go to carnalculture.com.
Carnalculture.com. I think is going to be dropped into the chat on social media. Carnal Culture, CARNAL.
Carnal culture.
Like
yes.
rawr, like
you and your R's.
Also, there's people saying that you need to be back, so maybe you have to live stream from home on Tuesday nights at 7:30. You're awesome. You're an awesome addition. Actually, that's fucking yes, please. I command you as your master. And wait, I have to wait till 8:30. It's past 8:30.
Sorry, yes, we have to.
There's one more question
Yes.
that somebody in the chat asked. How does one thrive when the local community is beyond toxic? As a fellow pro-dom, I see that title also as a figurehead, as someone who knows enough about enough to charge and doesn't use the community to find clients, but to reprogram/mentor, because it's terrible out here. I have yet to meet anyone where I'm at that isn't operating on another level because all their experience and knowledge was encouraged and promoted by really bad people under the guise of community.
I'll take this one. So, let's see. No, it's tough because as a professional and as a lifestylist, they are two different things. Professionals, we are facilitators of experience. We help create the space for a person to feel safe enough to open themselves up. Lifestylists go through the practice or through the imitation of the practice of actually finding this level of vulnerability and doing as I say, not as I do, right? It's not that way, but actually walking the walk and not doing as I say, not as I do. meaning integrity only goes as far as they are comfortable, as it benefits them. The minute integrity doesn't benefit them, well, we can start looking into the gray areas around it. Everyone's guilty of that at some point. Either you learn from it or not. She's the one who made me touch the iron. She said, grab my arm. She said, "You're touching that goddamn iron," right? So as a professional, you're also, when people say pro-dom, people think pro-doms know everything, and that's not true either. So as a professional, you embodying the practices of the leather culture, because that's what BDSM is our practices, bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, sadism and masochism. Those are acts, those are practices that we do with each other. Leather culture is my belief system that I work through, meaning integrity is what I lead with. So in order to engage in bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, sadism and masochism, we have to be upfront about who we are, how much we know, how much we don't know, what we're looking to experience, and really lay that shit out. Lifestylists know this, but do they practice it? I like to put them in the category as any other not even observing, someone who identifies with any other belief system, right? I can know this stuff. I can know that I need to be upfront and truthful and all that shit. It doesn't mean I'm doing it, right? So I like to equate that as beliefs and practices. Now, as a pro-dom, you're expected to know a lot of shit simply because you do it professionally, meaning people pay you for your expertise in it. It's your responsibility to be that expert because you are getting paid for it. People won't know the difference because you have pro-doms out there who think that this is all about beating the men up and taking their money and making them feel a certain way. Cool, in some cases it is, but there's a process to getting there. Morals and ethics, right? So as the pro-dom who is a lifestylist, we have a double duty. One, as a pro, we have to show these people who are looking to pursue these experiences what this really means for them in the vulnerability of getting there. As a lifestylist, we have to show people that there is intention behind what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. Invest into your own personal journey as not the pro-dom, but as you, the individual, to understand what power exchange means for you and energy exchange means for you, so that you can have the compassion for the clients and that you can find the language for the lifestyles. I hope that worked.
Sounded excellent. I think we can end.
How's that sound? How's that for you guys?
No, I was gonna say, I think as like we kind of wrap up this conversation, I think it's important to note that like as we talk about seeing change in our community and in our lifestyle, everyone that is a part of our lifestyle has the responsibility to show up the way that you want our community to look. You also hold the power to have the influence to help change the community. And I think the more we are able to police those that don't go by leather culture or they don't really abide true to like who we are as people, I think that those are the moments to just kind of address and provide space of understanding them on that next layer, which I think was just shared very, very greatly. So as always, you guys know what we're going to ask you to drop in the chat for today. And we really appreciate you all for just coming and existing and being here with us as we told our story.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, Karma. Listen, she's going to be on again. Karma, ladies and gentlemen. Yay, Karma.
Next week, we are talking about role play and fantasy in BDSM and specifically power exchange dynamics. What is role play? Is a power exchange dynamic? Role play, is it real life? What is fantasy? It's going to be, I'm very curious to see how that goes. It'll be here 7:30, same Zoom link. You can find it on FET or beyond.the.caller on Instagram and at the Kink Collective.
.net.
Recording stop.